Hello, it's Doris with Aldi Books, and I'm here with my mid-month wrap-up. 10 thus far completed, and the bulk of these are nonfiction. So I have one at the beginning that I'm gonna just get to super quick, and then a couple at the end, so that those of you that are here for nonfiction November can just enjoy all of that. So this first one is wrapping up my Victober reads. So this is my compilation, my complete works of Oscar Wilde, and I have been trying to read a little bit every Victober and coloring them off, and last year I didn't get around to it, so I wanted to make up for that this year. So I decided to read all of his poetry, and I persevered and I did that. Bless his heart. Okay, I'm done with that. So then I have completed one cycle of the prompts for Nonfiction November. So discovery, movement, buzz, and time. So let's chat about those. I'm hoping to get another round in this last week. We'll see. But this was also a Victober read that leaked into Nonfiction November. So Darwin and the Barnacle, the story of one tiny creature and history's most spectacular scientific breakthrough by Rebecca Stott. So this was fabulous. It's the perfect combination of science and Victorian time period. So she really does a good job of, you're focusing in on, Darwin studied the barnacle for 8 years and kept his evolution ideas written up. They were already written up. He kept them in a drawer, and only his wife knew that it was theirs. So in case he died before he published, the information would still go out. But he kept a lid on it because he wanted to have more of a solid foundation to put out those views. So he studied the barnacle and the evolution of this tiny creature, and different ways of having sex, basically, and how that shows, the origin of species. So yeah, and interspersed in that is all these delightful moments with other people and things going on at the time. So it's just a really nice window into the Victorian era, as well as science at the time, which was a huge part of the Victorian era. So yeah, I think I'll try to read a little bit of science every Victober, because like I said, the Victorian era was an era of, wonder in the naturalist world. And then I just finished yesterday Late Migrations by Margaret Wrinkle, A Natural History of Love and Loss. So this is a memoir, backyard nature, and I loved it so much. And that's all I'm going to say right now, because this is for my Milkweed editions for the Indie Press Project. So I will have a full review of this on the last day of the month, November 30th. So stay tuned for that. And then what could be more fitting for Buzz than Buzz? The Nature and Necessity of Bees by Thor Hansen. This was delightful. I just thoroughly enjoyed myself reading this. So it is indeed all about bees. But they're he pulls out really interesting anecdotal stories to illustrate the points of the bee, and it just makes it so much more interesting, especially since I've read so much on bees already. But I wasn't bored at all because these were all new stories and thoughts and ideas. So yes, highly recommend. I liked him just as much as Dave Goulson, who is the Sting in the Tail author. Those are my shelves back there if you don't know what I'm pointing at, my bee collection, my bee book collection. So yeah, I will also be reading all of his work. I know I have his book on seeds, but there's another one on feathers that I want to get, and I think one about trees as well. So great author. If you're into natural history, check him out. And then for time, I read Furious Hours, Murder, Fraud, and the Last Trial of Harper Lee by Casey Koepp. I listened to this on audio and really enjoyed it. I think, like, I was super excited when it first came out, and then I bought it right away and then never got around to reading it because I think I heard a lot of mixed reviews about it. But I got along with the whole thing, just really enjoyed it. So the first section just reads like a simple true crime story. There's this minister, jack of all trades, who, little bit of voodoo going on there, but he basically was a serial killer who never got caught or proven. And he killed all of basically family and close friends for insurance. So there was that. And then he was himself brutally murdered in a courtroom, like in front of God and everybody. And so the middle section is the lawyer that got him off for murder. So it's all about him and, you know, how he got this guy off on an insanity plea. And then the last section is kind of a short biography of Harper Lee and then her interest in this story and her doing research and writing a book that has never seen the light of day. No notes, no anything about this trial. So I learned a lot more about Harper Lee, of To Kill a Mockingbird fame. And yeah, if you are interested in Harper Lee, you might enjoy this as well. So then, prior to finishing all those, I finished Cast, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. So this is the author of The Warmth of Other Suns that I read last year with Karen from Run Right Reads and Patrice Jones and Heidi from My Reading Life. So we read this one together as well, and this is a brilliant work. Isabel Wilkerson takes like 8 years to research a book and write it, and you can really tell that she knows her stuff. She's let her thoughts percolate and come out, and wow. So this essentially compares the history of racism in the United States with slavery and segregation in modern times that we're in now, with the caste system in India and the Holocaust in Nazi Germany. And like, I had so many epiphanies while reading this. I learned when the Republican Party and the Democratic Party like switched places with regards to race relations, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how to phrase that, but and I just really had an epiphany about why we are the way we are in the world today with racism and race relations, and this idea that you keep the race dynamic in play by keeping people separated. And the way, like, one of the ways that we need to change that is through personal relationships with people. But this book, like, Oprah, I watched the interview with Oprah, and she has bought 500 copies to send to, like, all of the governors in the United States and the senators and, like, so many people. And I agree with her. Like, this is a must read. This is, I think, a really important read just to challenge your thinking, and to look at our history here in the States with a fresh lens. So highly recommend that one. And then I was trying to finish up some books. Well, not finish up some books. I was trying to get to 10 reads. So a couple weekends ago, I read through the graphic novels that I had just acquired. So I read Becoming RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's Journey to Justice. So this is just a really, I don't want to say shallow, because that's got negative implications, but overview. This is just an overview of her life from her childhood through her, education and young motherhood and young professional, and then becoming, the notorious force that she was. Really enjoyed it. Has just, like, scratched the itch of wanting to know Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So if you have recommendations of what books of hers I should read, I know that the Notorious RBG is one that's been recommended to me already, but yes. And then I read Embroideries by Marjane Satrapi. This is the author of Persepolis, which is a brilliant, brilliant graphic novel series. So this is a really quick read. It's really quick. It's a short, tiny book. And I enjoyed it. There were some, like, mild chuckle moments as I was reading it, but it hasn't really stuck with me. It's basically some women getting together and chatting about their lives and relationships and such. And then I read the manga Oishinbo, Japanese Cuisine. So I kind of thought that this was nonfiction about Japanese cuisine, and it's actually a manga slice of life story that revolves around Japanese cuisine. So I did get a lot of interesting tidbits about Japanese cuisine, which I found super interesting. But the story, like I've mentioned before, graphic novels that are just stories don't really tend to engage me, and this one really did not. But the foodie parts were super interesting. So there is that. And then I am reading through Julia Quinn's Bridgerton series with Katie and Heidi, and they're so good. We've all read them before, but we're rereading them because the Bridgertons is coming out on Netflix on Christmas Day, and I'm here for it. So far, this is not the one we've read. This is number 5 in the series, but it's the only one I own because, like, this is my all-time favorite Regency romance. I've had it for years. But we've read the first 2. So The Duke and I, and something about the Viscount. I don't know, sorry. The Bridgertons, number 1 and 2, we read, and they're delightful. Like, Julia Quinn is the queen of the family dynamic and just like instantly writing characters that you fall in love with. So, yeah. Okay, I'm going to wrap that up there, and thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye.